There are people still coming, yeah. Okay, it's live now.
Woohoo, we're live. Okay. Well, I'm Melissa Fisher. I wanted to thank you first off for asking me to talk about your nice topic tonight. I always really enjoy sharing my story, and so many people have heard it before, and to me, it never gets old. I love telling it because that's why I'm here. Like, my story really is a really cool Scentsy story. So, I joined Scentsy December 16th, 2009. Like bright shiny object. I just see people like popping up. Um, December 16th, 2009. So previous to that, I went to my first Scentsy party, let's see, just maybe a week or two before that. So now rewind just a little bit more. September of 2009, I married my husband Chase, and October 2009, I got really sick. I was working as a speech therapist in a really small town, and we had only been married for a month. I went into the doctor, and he told me that I had gallstones. So that's really not a huge deal. I'm sure like anybody that's out there right now knows that gallstones is a pretty like easy surgery. Um, so now October, I go in for surgery. It was actually October 20th. And I woke up 6 days later with no gallbladder, no appendix, no ovary, and no fallopian tube because when the doctor was in there, he made an oops and he poked my appendix, which then he put a sponge in there to try to clean it up because it just like exploded and attached to my organs. And then he quickly sewed me up, and it caused a huge infection. And I was actually just like under anesthesiology for 6 days. So my husband is a fishing guide, and he wasn't there. My parents lived in Alaska, so I was kind of alone. And when I woke up 6 days later, my husband was standing over me, and I was really confused at what happened because he had told me that he didn't give them permission to do this. This was not something that was okay, and I was like, what's going on here? So, long story short, this is only a month into our marriage. I had all of those organs, the baby-making organs, removed. Well, half of them, actually. And the doctor told me that this would be a character-building experience for me. And what he meant by that is that if we wanted to have kids, we needed to try, like, right away. And Chase and I had only been married for a month. I was a new first-year speech therapist. I was working on an hourly salary versus the school down here. I was or hourly pay versus salaried pay. So I was really afraid that like my husband was gonna think I was some sort of like lemon and leave me. Almost overnight, I gained about 30 pounds. I got really depressed, and the special ed teacher at school had a Scentsy party. So she invited me, and I mean, I remember going home that night, and I did the math, and I was like, this lady just made like $40 off of me. So after having surgery and all that stuff, by the way, I got a bill for $90,000, and we had to get an attorney. So I keep going back and forth. I keep going back to the fact that I was we were newly married. That's really hard for a newlywed couple to handle. So I sat down and I told my husband, I said, I'm out of work. I was out of work for almost 2 months. I was like borderline depressed. And so when I got my starter kit, it was a life changer for me. So although it was like right before Christmas, I remember my first party, I actually forgot to bring a warmer too, because when I joined, since he was still pretty new. So, oh gosh, it was a rough time. So fast forward to, what is today? January 14th, 2016. Um, here I am, and everything worked out. So when you asked me to talk about working, so not only can I tell you about working my business while working full time, but I can tell you about working my business while sitting on my butt for 2 months and not having any money. So you get the best of the both worlds here. Okay, so I'm a list person. So I have a list of things. And are we still good? Can everybody still hear me? Because now everybody's mute. I can't see. Okay, I see her now. Thumbs up?
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me? Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm going to post the YouTube link because I'm being told that it's full. So nobody else can get in here. So just so you know, I'm here, we hear you, but I'm going to give people YouTube links now.
Okay, so when they put
awesome.
when you get the YouTube link, then they can play it like from start to finish. So even though we're like 10 minutes in, they can still play it, and it's quasi-live. Does that make sense?
Awesome.
Okay.
And now we're listening.
Okay. So how do you work your business when you're working a 40-hour week? Number one, put that you learn from your employer. So I worked at a salon for 9 years when I was going through college, and then obviously afterwards I worked at a school. So I'm gonna kind of focus on the salon first. So what can you learn from your employer? The insight that you gain while working for someone else can mean the difference between a successful entrepreneurial enterprise and one that fizzles. So my job working at the salon taught me a lot about sales, a lot about customer service, how to treat people. Working at school, I guess, and at the salon too, taught me a lot about conflict resolution and praise. Both of my jobs taught me about schedules and organization. So one huge thing that both of my jobs taught me is learn people's names, learn their birthdays, you know, and in our job, learn their favorite scents. So when you're working at school, you can, if it's somebody's birthday, a coworker's birthday, give them a scent circle. It doesn't even have to be their favorite scent. It can just be a scent circle. Or send people a card. Put something in their mailbox at school. Working at a salon, you know, having samples, anything like that. Something that keeps you with your people, like lets them know that you're listening to them, like you understand. I like to send out happy mail. Again, I don't know what kind of jobs everybody has. I know some people are stay-at-home moms. I know that a lot of people are nurses. Across the board here, I should have asked earlier, but I did a little poll with my team beforehand, and I have a lot of people that are teachers that do work in nursing homes as nurses, and then in the restaurant business. So any of those things, names. Remember people's names. Just calling somebody by name or calling them at all is something that I really learned from working. So number two, I wrote validate your idea. Show people that it can be done. Let people know how hard you work at your job. You know, I just worked a whole day with my speech students, and it was a great day. I had a whole fulfilled day full of fun at school, and now I get to go to my Scentsy job and I get to have a party. Like, let people know that you like both of your jobs. You don't necessarily, like, I like to keep it as positive as possible. You don't necessarily want to say, like, you know, I had a crappy day at work, now I get to go have fun. I think that people might get the wrong idea, so keep it as positive as possible. Validate your ideas, validate your job. 24 hours in a day, that means that some of those hours, most of those hours, are dedicated to your job, your commute, eating, sleeping, feeding your family. So it's essential to prove your love of Scentsy. So I'm just going to go with school teacher as the job here, so I can keep referring back to just one thing. So when you're a school teacher, how do you validate your love of Scentsy? You can have a warmer in your room or your office. You can casual Fridays wear your Scentsy hoodie. I wear my Scentsy watch like every day, right? Um, Make it known. So you have to take time to get online, make posts, get on your Facebook, create events, and brand yourself. The other thing that I want to talk about is work smarter, not harder. So you really need to find ways to simplify. So set goals. What kind of goals do you have for your Scentsy business while you're working? Some people just want it as a hobby. Some people want to get out of it and do it full time. But something that you should always do, and I actually have my dream board from my old office, something that you can look at that keeps you motivated, keeps you going. So this was hanging in my office at school. So little things. My goals, things that I'm doing, picture of my family. I want Glam Fam in all states.
Hey, Melissa, it's a little hard for us to see that. Can you share with them, like a few of the examples? I know you just said a couple, but a few examples of what you actually.
Yep, one of the goals. Okay, I need to rewind a little bit too. I'm kind of all over the place. So I am talking about how to work your 40 hours a week and still work your job, right? This is my 6th year with Scentsy, 5 years working full-time job. This last spring is when I finally decided that stay-at-home mom was where I wanted to be. So my position right now, this was one of my goals on my dream board, was to become a work-at-home mom. And I even put the date. That was the last day of my job. I want to pay off my Jeep, Glam Fam in all states, Scentsy Fit Club, Mrs. Montana, Big Star Directors on here a couple times, Annual Mentor Award, Love, Recruit.
And boom, you got that one. You got Annual Mentor.
Pay It Forward, New House, Go International. I did that too. So there's 40 hours in a week, or excuse me, 24 hours in a day. Like, what are you going to do for your business during those 24 hours? You really need to find ways to simplify things. So if you're going to be working your full-time job, as I did, obviously you're going to need to dedicate, I mean, you're being paid to be at your job, so you need to focus on that. But when you do have time, or when you can learn to simplify things, it makes it so much easier. So, and I talk about it all the time, and I know just by looking at who's on here right now, I'm sure a couple of you have already heard about this, so there's going to be things that I talk about that you may already know of, and that some things may sound completely new to you. So SliDial is something that I used a lot, and I still use, but I used it a lot more when I was working, because with SliDial, it's an app, and it takes you directly to their voicemail. So chances are, when you're calling someone and leaving them a voicemail, they're working their 40 hours a week job as well. So you can call using SliDial and say, hey, this is Melissa with Scentsy. I've got your Scentsy order ready. Like, call me back and let me know when we can meet. Or something like, you know, this is Melissa. I've got Bring Back My Bar specials going on. I noticed last time my home was available, you bought a ton of it. So call me back and we'll discuss or anything like that. So Slidell is one way to simplify your 40-hour-a-week job. Using apps for scheduled posts. I just learned about this summer, so I can't say that I was using it when I was working 40 hours a week, but I know that you can use it because I was using it during my job this summer. So like Hootsuite, and I'm sure all you youngins out there are totally techie and know what Hootsuite is. But Hootsuite is for scheduled posts. So this summer I was really excited because I was hunting with my husband. I finally got to go bow hunting, and I scheduled posts ahead of time. I scheduled 3 posts. I did one morning, afternoon, and one late afternoon. And so even though I was busy hunting with my husband, posts were still being posted on my Facebook, and I think you can do that with all social media via Hootsuite. So I have a little story. I'm kind of meticulous about labeling for events, labeling brochures or labeling catalogs, but I actually found a little peace in letting my 4-year-old help me. The labels were crazy, and you know, once they're stuck on there, it is really hard to get them off. And I just had to kind of bite it and take them to the event with me. And I remember when I started handing those catalogs out that Blaine helped me with, people were looking at me like, gosh, was this lady like drunk when she was putting these on? And they just kind of gave me a little nose scrunch. And I was like, the cool thing about working my business and having my son help me like in the evenings is A, he's helping me, and B, I get to share this story now that I'm at this event that I work full-time, and so my family time is really precious to me, and when he wanted to help, I was not going to say no. And so the fact is that I got to tell them about he was actually 3 then, so my 3-year-old helping me label the catalogs kind of like tugs at the heartstrings with people. They want to know those things. So even though my labels were like crazy crooked, I was so proud to tell the people at the event that because I work so much, like I took my family time and I made it into Scentsy time too. So identify what time of day is most productive for you. And kind of prioritize from there. If you could only accomplish 5 tasks tomorrow, which 5 would give you the highest payoff? Focus on what you do best and delegate the rest. So find someone that has strengths in your weaknesses and join forces. So if you have an accountability partner, and it works a lot easier if you guys are in the same time zone, but it doesn't always have to be. But like when you guys get off work, you can brainstorm, you can share texts, you can exchange trainings for teams, but find something that you have a strength in. Find somebody that also has strengths in something that's not your strength. So that's going to help you as far as training your team, so you're not exhausted. And take care of yourself. Working nonstop, you'll eventually burn out. So take breaks, or just like I said, like switch trainings. You don't want to stress yourself out over a training that you're not comfortable with if somebody else can do it for you and you guys can switch. Set small goals or give yourself little rewards. And never, ever, ever give up. I know we talk about that all the time, but it's like legit. If you need help, ask for it. And do what you can to stay inspired. So I know working full-time is hard. You're a full-time mom, you're a full-time teacher, you're a full-time wife, you're a full-time Scentsy consultant. Like sometimes I would have people say, like, how do you do it? And it's not just one. It's not just one person. It's a whole bunch of people working together. You're a family. But sometimes you do need to stay inspired. So find people that make you happy. Find those people that keep you happy and inspire your soul. So I found. Oh, sorry, I thought somebody was buzzing me. I found a little quote that I wanted to share really quick, and then we can go back to. Okay. Dear beautiful you, this is your life, your very own life. Get to know your soul, dance your dance, sing your song, take charge of your story. Love your day. Let your heavy stuff go, embrace your blessings, kiss your loved ones, thank your everything, see your place. Forgive your mistakes, forgive your enemies, drain your secrets of their poison, heal your pain, find your tribe, rest your body, share your talents, practice your passions, find your bliss, live your life, love your life, because the best years of your life will happen as soon as you open your hands to your happiness. So yeah, so working, once you find like that niche, I have to say, like, that's the best time to see if you can become a stay-at-home mom or a work-at-home mom, because I worked so hard and so long, and I thought, you know what, I can do this. And I have to say that being a stay-at-home mom and working my Scentsy business is even a lot harder than working 40 hours a week and working my Scentsy business. So who wants to throw stuff out there? I'm curious. Like I kept going back to being a teacher, but I want to brainstorm. Like, what can you learn from your employer? That's the number one thing that I went over. Number two is validate your idea. The other thing is like validate, like brand yourself constantly, right? And then work smarter, not harder. So those three things. Does anybody want to throw anything out or questions?
I can tell you a question. I've gotten a few of them since you've been talking, and the main question I get from people, and they've been writing, is how are you recruiting when you're working full-time?
Okay, so even on my lunch break, do y'all have Taco John's where you're from? Yes? No?
We're from all over, maybe.
Okay. On my lunch break, I would hand out a scent circle or a sample when I would do like the drive-through, or like we have a Subway. I'd leave my card in the tip jar with like $1 wrapped around it. But I'm not so much when I talk to people, I don't talk to people about buying the product. I talk to people about the opportunity more. Instead of saying, oh, you know, you should buy this and this and this from me, I just say, okay, if you want to join me or if you want to sit down with coffee, we can go over how Scentsy can help you, how Scentsy can pay for your cell phone bill. When I first started, that's what it was doing. So you just have to, I mean, sometimes you need to know the person and know what they want. Like if they're looking for a new car, like, hey, let's work your Scentsy business for a couple months and see how Scentsy can help you with that. I'm trying to think of like a situation. Well, you know, I'll go back to I was working at school. I had probably in like the whole school district, maybe 5 or 6 girls joined my team at that time that are still all very active. And some of them have moved and then they've recruited their own. But everywhere I went, I mean, like I said, I always talk about the product is great, but the opportunity to me is where it's at.
If you guys, especially those of you watching on YouTube, they actually did catch us midway. It didn't start at the beginning. But those of you watching on YouTube, or if you can't get on, if you have a question, send me a message and I'll ask her. Just FYI. I know that's the biggest thing I know with my team, those that work full-time. They work in an office with people. You know, they say they don't really go anywhere but work, so it's been hard for them to recruit because they don't do anything but work, you know?
Um, on the back of my business card, I could go grab one. Um, I had I had special business cards made, and on the back it just says "Ask me about my referral program." And so I will get people that will ask me about it, and then I always say, hey, you know, if you're interested in these products, um, you know, you want to host a party, earn some free stuff. 100% of the time, I always offer to flip their party. And I would say in the last 2 years, I've been able to flip at least 75% of them. So maybe it's not just like the recruiting part, but like actually getting them to a party and then flipping it. Even if it's an online party, I'm starting to get a lot better at those, and there's more information out there about flipping parties. That's good that your team's really wanting to recruit.
Yes, they are. You know, because people see the potential with it, you know, how where we can go, and also, you know, everyone that's been involved in the fall with the incentive, they know in order to earn it, they have to recruit, you know?
I I talk about obviously, you know, like if you want to be a hobbyist, if you want to be part-time, if you want to be full-time, but the tax write-offs, um, the friendships, like friendships is always number one with me, and it's it's so much more than wax and warmers, and people don't know that unless they're there. So I always offer, like, even if somebody gives me just a little glimmer that they may be interested in even hosting a party, I'll say, hey, I have some VIP slots open on my team page for a guest. And if you'd like to come and check out, like, the behind-the-scenes stuff, then let me know. And if that's for you, sometimes that's the nail right there. They want to see the behind the scenes stuff, and they see how my team interacts with each other, and it's so positive. Jamie's smiling. Is that what you do?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was actually just thinking in my head, like, I love everything that you've said, and I told my team that I would try to take notes, but I honestly think that, like, I don't know if this will sound offensive, but there was nothing that you said that I was like, oh, like this is it. Like I think the gist of what you're saying is you're passionate about it and you talk to everyone about it, and it's not so much in like, oh, here's the secret formula for working 40 hours a week and having, you know, and working a successful Sensi job. Like you're like the secret is the passion that you have behind it, and I think that's something that you can't really like teach somebody. That's just something that they have to have. You have to have and live Sensi in your job as well as, you know, when you're labeling catalogs.
Or you have to smell good at work. I mean, people
Exactly.
Do you remember what Heidi said this past week about finding a happy median between family and work? It's like you can go to work and love Sensi, and you can be at home and love your job. Like you have to. There's really never going to be a happy medium, but you hit the nail on the head with that. Like as long as you're passionate about it,
Right.
people are going to see that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt to have a schedule and try to work off that schedule. Find a time that, because you can't do. I mean, there is only 24 hours in a day,
Yep.
but you can't do. I have to be a scheduled person, and even if I make lists, even if I have like 5 or 6 things written on that list, and even if they're easy things like go to work, eat lunch, you know, like
Take a
little
shower.
things like that, as long as you're checking things off your list, but then at the bottom of the list, like talk to 2 people about, you know, the opportunity.
Or like you said, like pass a cent circle out or drop a business card with $1 in the tip jar. Like that's pretty smart, you know. Just pass on the kindness.
So Melissa, someone is wanting to know if you will share with us like a way you you offer the opportunity. Because there are many people, well, like this person that asked me, plus I wasn't either, that was never offered the opportunity. So how do you do it? Like, whether in person or Facebook, what do you say? What do you do?
So tell me what kind of person this is. Like, I came home to 3 different messages in my Facebook, and they were all messages kind of based on a couple posts that they had seen on my Facebook. So that way, when I meet a stranger, I'll go with a stranger first. When I meet a stranger and they see that I have Scentsy on, I like to tell them, like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm doing this weekend. I'm going to events, and I get to meet all these people, and, you know, if you want to stop by, I can share more information with you, and then I have, like, the join brochure. If I have a join brochure with me, that's it. I'm going to send that with them. If somebody on Facebook messages me, I always say that's the best thing ever, because that means they're already thinking about it. So I had one gal message me, and she saw that my team and we try to meet for coffee or just a little hangout at least once a month. And her message was more like, I really want a piece of this. I love to see how much fun you're having, and I want to know more about it. And so we were making Bring Back My Bar samples, and my team name is the Glam Fam, and she said, I'm really interested in hanging out with the Glam Fam and learning more. So a stranger versus somebody that I'm already friends with on Facebook are kind of treated differently. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know, like, for me, strangers, I've always told my team, I'm not an in-your-face kind of person. I don't come on and be like, oh, I sell Scentsy. I'm not very prepared with, like you were saying, possibility packets, because it's harder for me. But I always bring it up. You know, having kids makes it a little bit easier, I think, sometimes, because, like, one of my best team members, I met her last year at T-Ball, you know, and not because I brought up Scentsy, but because I was branding myself. I had on Scentsy. So then people ask, you know.
I actually met, you know, like your Facebook profile picture, I highly, highly, highly recommend to have that, like, with your website on it as much as possible. Like, if it's just your headshot, like melissameltswax.com. I am a part of a lot of groups, like goat groups, right? You know how much I like my goats. And so I'm in these groups, and I'm not friends with thousands and thousands and thousands of these people, right? But I post something about my goat, or a question or a video of Carlos or Jax or whatever, and then they click on me because they're interested in what I had to say, and then they say, oh my gosh, this chick sells Scentsy. I've had sales from that and one recruit, and that was based on my profile picture. I either had a Scentsy shirt on, because I try to make sure that all of my profile pictures have something to do with Scentsy, but I mean, you just never know. People are so random, but those two came from my profile picture.
That's
I love that.
I don't do that. Like, I'm going to change that now. That's genius. I noticed when I was looking at your page this morning, looking for a picture of you, everything had your website on it, you know? So I think that I'm not very good at that. So that's, all of you listening, that is a really good tip. Hey, I just got a question.
The other thing is, can I touch on that really quick? The things that you like I'm in a Jeep group, which I don't have my Jeep anymore. It's a different story. I'm in a wiener dog group. I'm in a couple of chicken groups, and I'm in some goat groups. But when you are in those groups, make friends with those people, and then, like I said, with your face and your website and all of that, just post. It doesn't have to be, I would recommend it not being Scentsy stuff. You know, like with my wiener dog, I'm like, okay, my wiener dog is completely deaf. Does anybody else have a deaf wiener dog that they can message me or they can get to know me? And then with my profile picture constantly being Scentsy, you know, it's like in the back of their mind, like, oh, this chick sells Scentsy. Hopefully some way down the road it will click. If they need Scentsy, they're going to holler at me. So you are literally planting seeds, and you never know when they're going to sprout.
That's genius, too. I think I need to get some hobbies.
Or at least, yeah.
chickens or a goat.
Yeah, I'll pretend like I love goats. Okay,
Yeah.
this is a question from someone. What would you say, and Jamie, you might be able to help with this too. What would you do? I don't know, being a teacher sometimes it's different. If you cannot promote your business at your full-time job.
I was actually
I know,
going to ask that.
okay. I know in some jobs you can put like something in the lounge area. Actually, one of my girls on the call, she was the Cincy girl at her work, and then some new man came to work, and his wife joined Cincy recently, and he started throwing her stuff away and putting his wife's stuff out there.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but you know, some places you can do that, but what if you can't do anything like that or promote yourself?
I think it's the same thing like with social media. You just try to friend them, try to become friends with your coworkers outside of work. And then you don't have to work it at work. You work it on your own time.
They just know. Or smell good. Your clothes, your wrists, you know, like, use lotion. Keep the lotion in your purse. I worked at a clinic a couple summers ago, which was kind of the same thing. There was no Scentsy warmers or candles or anything allowed, and so I always had. We washed our hands a lot, so I had like a big body lotion in my purse. But that is, I mean, that's definitely a lot tougher than when there's a little more lax job site. But I think Jamie's right. Like, if you're friends with them on Facebook, social media is really the best. I mean,
it's the way into their lives.
It really is, and you can schedule posts. I mean, like, all the time. If they're not working one day and you're working, you can still be scheduling those posts. People read your stuff. They do.
And I think Jamie had a great idea in the past where she just leaves the catalog kind of sticking out of her bag. So, like, they always see the Scentsy catalog or the Scentsy bag on her shoulder.
Yeah, I have the show-off bag now. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because I teach college, so I can't just, like, walk in and be like, hey guys, you want to buy some Scentsy from your professor? Like, you can't do that. So, like, every once in a while I'll walk in and I'll have my Scentsy bubble cup, like, and I'll make sure when I sip out of it it's like showing Scentsy, you know, very casually. Exactly. And so, you know, there's other ways to brand yourself without being like, hey, does anyone want to join my team? And I have recruited a handful of my students. And after the semester's over, some of them usually will find me on Facebook, and we kind of develop the relationship that way. So.
Well, I was even going to comment on your nails.
Yeah.
I remember getting, I think I was gassing up, and this lady was like zooming in on my nails, and she's like, girl, those are crazy. And I was like, you know it. And I was doing one of these things, like, they're my Scentsy nails, you know. No, it was in the airport. The lady that was sitting next to me was like, the lady at the gas station she read my car. That's what happened. But the lady in the airport was like, I love your nails. I'm like, oh, they're my Scentsy nails. And she said, what's Scentsy? And I was like, really? Mm-hmm. I call those people unicorns. So I explained to her and gave her a little pamphlet, little rub and sniff, and some other information.
Awesome.
But it was all because of my nails, yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot because of my nails, and now recently because of my hair, which is now more hot pink than purple. But people comment on it, and I'm like, oh, it's my Scentsy hair. So you don't have to dye your hair or do your nails to get noticed, but it helps.
Melissa, I have a question kind of from the other end. So how do you sell the dream? So you were very successful in Scentsy for a good long time, but you were still working full time. So how do you sell, like, the Scentsy dream where you're not one of those stay-at-home moms, but you're still working Scentsy and working your full-time job?
Can you ask that again? Like, the Scentsy dream? Are you saying, like, just being able
to say, just being able to say, like, I stay at home and don't work full time, I can just live on Sensi. Like, how do you, when you get to a certain level, do you feel like you should be able to say that, or am I just being the crazy optimist?
I made sure, and it was for a good year, like my husband and I talked about it, I made sure that I had consistent X amount of dollars out of every paycheck, you know, because it fluctuates. So I had to make sure that I was a director for 3 years, but it wasn't the title. The title doesn't pay you, it's the team, you know, and so I had to make sure that I had X amount of dollars at least for a whole year before I was able to quit my job and go full-time Sensi. Does that kind of answer it, or is that completely off?
I guess that's kind of it. Like, my whole thing is, at a certain level, like, when you say, I've made it to this level, people expect that you would not have to work anymore. So, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I definitely, like, when I hit director, it wasn't like, boom, you know, I handed in my resignation slip. It was just more like, this is really cool that I've made director, and I was able to do it all because I wanted to pay my cell phone bill. And I reiterate that to people, not even if I'm trying to recruit, but I reiterate that to them, like, it all started because I was sick. And then I thought it would help with my cell phone bill. And then, you know, when we did get pregnant, we were told that it was, like, really slim to none chance. My Sensi paycheck ended up paying my maternity leave. And so I think you just have to set a goal, an attainable goal, and let people know that. Let people know what your goals are.
Hey, Melissa, I'm being asked, how long were you in Sensi before you got your first team member?
Oh my gosh, you want to know the honest answer? It was over a year. I think it was like 16 months. Because guess what? Like you girls were talking about 2 weeks after I joined Sensi, my sponsor. So I was by myself for about 2 years, and I remember it was a mother of one of the students I was working with. She just was like, "God, you look like you're having so much fun, and I love bubblegum scent, and you had that." You gave me a bubblegum sample, and I love it, and I think I'm going to join your team. And I was like, what? And I had no idea what to do, but nobody helped me. And when I talk to my team, I tell them how lucky they are to have a good sponsor. And even if that sponsor is no longer around, they have a team. Because when I joined Sensi, like, Facebook was not around. I mean, it really wasn't. And I joined Facebook because where I was working wouldn't let me get on MySpace, so I joined Facebook, and Facebook was like for old people at that time. So I was alone. I reinvented the wheel on so many things, and I rolled up and I rolled up, and I finally just kind of took the bull by the horns, and I decided that I would look at the compensation plan. It took me like a year. It was about a year in, and I finally flipped over the catalog, and I was like, hey, wait. Like, so I remember when I hit lead, and I was so excited because I started signing all of my emails, lead consultant, and I loved that. It was so empowering. Like, I did it all on my own, ownish. You know, my teammate helped me too. And I remember it was like I had that, like, aha moment that I can do this. Like, I am paying my cell phone bill, and I took my husband to Taco Bell, and I filled up my Jetta, and life is good.
That's awesome. Hey, guys, if you're on here on the call and you have a question, just unmute yourself. Or if you want to say something, just unmute yourself and say it. Just FYI. Oh, I have another question. Let me see. Okay, this question is, it goes along with the first recruit. They're wanting to know, like, your journey. Like, how long did it take until you made director, and how many people were on your team when you made director?
For people that have live video going on, like, raise your hand if you know Jason Harwood. Okay, why am I asking you this? Because he likes statistics, and when we go to Spring Sprint World Tour, he'll say X amount of consultants hit director in 14 months. X amount of consultants hit director in 16 months. And those consultants also hit superstar or sensational start level 1, 2, or 3, or shooting star. Guess what? I didn't hit shooting star. I didn't hit any of those levels, and it took me 3 years to get to director. I am not your typical director, but I love to share that with people because you can still work your business. So what? You miss sensational start. Your life is not over. You're still paying your bills. You still get to buy Taco Bell for your husband. You can still do it if you just set little goals here and there. Like, I love telling people, I mean, gosh, it was hard. It was a long 3 years, but I did it. And Jason hates when I say that because he's like, well, you're like the 0.1% of people that that's happened to. And I was like that. Last year I
think
was
that is sorry, even my team member just said that's so encouraging to hear because, you know, I think we compare ourselves so much. And like me, I moved very quickly. So a lot of my people that have been with me from the beginning, they get discouraged that they haven't moved quickly too. And so I love it. I love that your story is that because now my team can hear that, where it's okay. We're all going to go at our own pace, and we cannot compare our journeys, you know? Sorry, are you there? Is she frozen?
She's frozen.
I was like, am I frozen? Okay, there's a question, but I almost think we can all answer it till oh, she's gone. Maybe
She might have just had a reboot or something.
So this is the question, and some of us can answer it. Why is it so common for sponsors and upline to not support you once you join? Is it okay to reach out to others, your director, star, or superstar, even though your upline is still a consultant? And I can answer that because I can tell you that although my upline is... Hey, the question is, Melissa, why is it so common for once you join, your sponsors don't help you at all? And is it okay to reach out ahead of them towards the director or superstar director for help? And I was saying that when I joined, although my sponsor was my friend and a director, and I did. I reached up to my superstar director because I knew where I wanted to go with this. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that myself if you're not getting what you need in front of you. You girls go ahead.
I share the chain of command with my team. You know, your sponsor, your director, your upline, or your team page. But a lot of times there are people that are intimidated by certain people for whatever reason. So I started doing accountability partners, people that are at the same level. Like I'll maybe put 2 leads. Like if I have someone that is really gung-ho and chomping at the bit and she's just full of energy and she wants to help, I'll do an accountability partner with another gal that's at her same level or lower even, and say, hey, you know, like sometimes it's less intimidating. There's intimidation factor is huge with people, but I try to be open. I don't normally take it personally, but I know people that do. Yeah. But I think you have to be comfortable with who you're talking with.
Jenny, are you going to add anything?
I mean, I don't think having a sponsor that doesn't support you is very common, but it's more common than it should be. And I think that that's the amazing thing about, you know, Facebook, is that you can literally just Facebook message any director, anybody from any of those pages, those support pages, who seems positive and friendly, and get support. And I don't think there's anything wrong with going like across, you know, across groups or across teams, like to somebody that's like unrelated to you in Sensi World. But I think that and Melissa's right. Like sometimes you do find that some people feel like they're stepped on a little bit if you go above them, like circumnavigate them a little bit. So you kind of just have to be aware of that chain of command within your own like family.
I think that's the thing that makes the Scentsy family what it is, right?
Totally.
We are one big family, and we are all willing to help one another. That's not very common from what I understand in other direct sales companies. So it is like a family, and we are here to help one another. It's not about getting to the top alone. It's about getting there together.
I totally agree with what Casey just said. I had a gal that was considering joining, and then she really backed off, and so I messaged her when I got back from Mexico, and she said, well, one of her family members was not successful with a makeup company, and she told her that they're all the same, you know, all direct sales companies are the same. And I was like, their system is put together totally different. You don't have to have thousands of dollars in stock and then you have like a shop out of your house. Scentsy, you don't have to have anything in stock if you don't want to. And B, I pride myself in my team. My team, the Glam Fam, is so supportive. We have adoptees on our team, and we are like family, legit family. And I don't think a whole lot of other direct sales companies have that connection with people. It's just like wham, bam, here you go, lay it out in front of you, and they're gone, you know. But some Scentsy sponsors, some Scentsy people, they don't have that kind of team connection like I do, like my team does. So there may be some misinformation out there, and that's why some sponsors, maybe they sponsored like the day after they joined, kind of a thing, you know.
I tell my team, just like you, I tell them all the time, you're so lucky I didn't have this, you know, group. I love, because I have adoptees too, and I have no problem with it, you know. I love that feel of my group and how comfortable we are talking about stuff. And actually you saying that leads into another question, that, and this is from another director. She says, when did your team start participating and being active on your team page? How did you get them involved in sharing information, stories, and participating in posts?
I remember the first big team incentive I did. Holy moly, it was like overwhelming, but it really got my team active. I did Wax Wars. I don't know if anybody's ever done that. It's like daily. Yeah, it's hard though. I bit off a little more than I could chew, but I followed through, and so many people got prizes. And then, you know, I remember there was like pencil pouches, and I remember one day a girl posted a picture of her pencil pouches with a couple of samples in there, and she was sending off a pouch party. You know, I earned this little incentive from Melissa, blah blah blah, and then, you know, just every once in a while somebody would pop things up. But just in the last year, I've started to do Consultant of the Day, and I'll do it at random times, and I say, this is a great time to get to know your Scentsy sisters and brothers. So I'll say, Consultant of the Day, you know, ask non-Scentsy questions and get to know each other. You know, like, I like goats. Who else likes goats? Or, like, what's your favorite pop? Or, I saw NSYNC in concert 14 times, and all of a sudden people are like, me too, me too. And then they friend each other. I've got a couple cancer survivors on my team, and those two found each other because of Scentsy, and they talk a lot. My cat had kittens, and I was able to find them homes through Scentsy Sisters, so now I get to see the kitties grow up because I love my fur babies, you know. So Consultant of the Day is really good to keep them active. Every once in a while, I'll play just little games. The ABC game.
Mm-hmm.
Do that one. And I've got teammates from all over, so sometimes I don't post things at the same time during the day. Mm-hmm. Same with like Wax Wars. They would never know. It was like a flash incentive. I'll do one at like midnight. I'll do one at like 3 p.m. Try to catch them off guard. that's how you keep them coming back to your page more, is you do incentives at different times.
And I think doing things like you're talking about that aren't necessarily Cincy related. Just like the other day, one of my team members, she got on there and posted a picture of a bunch of superheroes and said, pick which superhero would you be? And everyone's posting. Because a lot of times on your team page, I don't know if it's like this for you guys, but it's usually the same 10, 15, 20 people doing all the commenting, you know, which is fine because they keep my page happy and excited and, you know, whatever. But doing stuff like that that's non-Cincy related, like you're talking about, is really good too.
And with the consultant of the day, sometimes I'll message the person beforehand, and I'll say, hey, in 10 minutes I'm going to tag you in a post. You know, people are going to ask you questions. Are you okay with this? 100% of the time they say yes.
It's that sense of belonging. That's
totally. Awesome. Nailed it. Mm-hmm.
Cassie's having issues.
First of all, he should be asleep right now. Second of all, I'm over here threatening not going to Disney World tomorrow, and he doesn't really care. Because he knows I'm a lie. We're going to Disney World. I was going to say something.
Did you have any more questions?
I don't have any more coming at me right now. Anybody else? Anybody else? Ashley, do you have any questions? Call her out. This was really good, Melissa. It was really nice they were able to get some feedback, and I think Ashley's coming on live. Are you going to talk to us?
Sorry, I'm baking a cake while listening to this call. I'm good. She answered all my questions.
Woohoo!
So, yeah.
I have what's called BSO, Bright Shiny Object. So I write down a lot of notes, and then I just start talking about something else. So honestly, if anybody has questions, like, I've been through the trenches. I've worked years and years and years at different kinds of jobs, and I've still been, you know, Scentsy has always been my happy place. My full-time job sometimes wasn't my happy place. So even though I think that's what kept me going through my full-time job, was knowing that I could go home and play with my Scentsy. I don't, like Jamie was saying, there's no formula to making your full-time job work. It's just having that passion, having something to look forward to, be it, you know, having a Skype meeting with a teammate or labeling or anything like that. Social media is a huge thing. Posting all that stuff online. There's just, you really do. I mean, you just have to find that little passion, that little niche of yours, and that's how it goes. But like I said, I've had different kinds of jobs, and I've made it work.
And I think
where there's a will, there's a way.
For sure.
I think getting yourself out there, especially if you've never been to any Scentsy or Velada event, get yourself to World Tour or one of the Velada socials. I know I have some Velada people on here. To meet other people that are in this with you, you're going to feed off of them. And whether it's your team or not your team, you know, just to build those relationships. So, and it'll make you more excited, and you'll find people you can connect with better and work with them, you know. But.
So I think a good quote that I heard was, passion will move men beyond themselves, beyond their shortcomings, and beyond their failures. So if you just live along those guidelines, then you can't lose.
True that.
Well, if there's nothing else, we'll get off here. We really appreciate you coming and doing this, Melissa.
Thank you.
And everyone else that came in and spoke, Jamie and Casey, thanks for pitching in.
No problem. It was fun. Thank you, Melissa. This was awesome.
Yay, for Google Hangouts.
Yeah, I'm so glad I got it to work. I'm so excited. Thanks, Jamie, for all your help.
No problem.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.
Don't be a stranger.
Good night.